January 2022 and welcome to the Pilates Leeds YouTube channel. My name's Alison and I'm going to do a bit of side lying stuff today. I want to run through quickly why you would work in side lying in Pilates, a few tips on how best to do a setup, and then some really lovely exercise that you can do once you get there. So, why work in side lying? Well, the obvious first reason is for variety. It really adds beautifully to the flow and the amount of exercises that you can do if you have lying on your back, lying on your side, lying on your tummy. But there's other reasons as well. Some people are just more comfortable lying on their side. Two obvious categories of people are pregnant women, and the more pregnant you get, the more uncomfortable it is to lie on your back or your tummy. And the other group of people are those who have chronic, actually acute or chronic low back pain. Don't be surprised if you find it a little bit uncomfortable to lie on your back and you're much better on your side. And this is where the side lying repertoire is so valuable. I'm keen on sideline work as well because you can access the buttocks, the glute muscles, and we do need to get these stronger, and it's another way to kind of reach them and exercise them, and we'll come to that later. And the other thing about side lying is we have side sit on the arm and side sit on the elbow, but these can be difficult if you have issues with your shoulder or your wrist, and certainly on the elbow position it can be quite hard on the neck because you're out on an angle, so the full side lying can be a bit gentler. So that's why you would do side lying, and here is a few tips for the setup. So the first thing is the head neck position. Now I've got here a 2-inch yoga brick, a 1-inch block, actually 2-inch yoga block, 1-inch yoga block, and a head pad, and that's about right for me. So you need quite a lot of support for your head. Okay, otherwise you can, I'll show you what I mean. If you look at that, I'm kind of all misaligned there. So bear that in mind. You don't need fancy yoga blocks. They are good, but you can use cushions. Okay, so that's the first thing. We tend to go a little bit into the fetal position and rounded when we're side lying. It's a kind of very natural thing. But from a Pilates or exercise point of view, you want to be your back relatively straight and your head relatively back, as opposed to the curve forward. Okay. Another thing to bear in mind is very, very often people find that their thigh bone here digs in a little bit when they're in side lying. It's an anatomical thing. Your femur, your thigh bone, has a bulging-y, outy bit called the greater trochanter, and it can dig in. Don't ignore that. If it is uncomfortable, you pad it up with a cushion. It'll be all you need. Sometimes it's just if you've got a thinnish mat. So don't ignore that discomfort. And what about the awkward underneath arm? It's like when you're lying in bed and you don't know what to do with your arm, isn't it? So in theory, in side lying, you'd prop the shoulders up, the ribs, the pelvis, the knees and the feet. But that can be quite difficult for some people's shoulders. So if it's annoying and it feels like it's sort of over compressing your shoulder, then the alternative is to bring your arm out like this. Now you're not quite as aligned, but if the other position is downright uncomfortable, this is a better alternative. I've got one more little setup. I'm all right like this, so I'm going to readjust. One more little setup team, and that is to do with how you fire up your trunk muscles. The trunk, the core, is so much more than simply your abs, and this is such a good way to illustrate it. You need your buttocks, your glutes fired up to stabilise the trunk, even here. So I'm lying on my right side, so I'm going to press my right outer glutes, outer buttocks. These are my left outer buttocks. So these right ones, I'm going to press them gently into the floor. So they're pressing against the resistance of the floor, so they fire up and work. It's called an isometric contraction. So the floor doesn't go anywhere, but there's a reaction in the glutes. And this can lift and stabilise the trunk. Even with my floppy top on, you can possibly see the effect of me pressing the glutes down will give me a little bit of lift in the trunk. Some people favour a more direct approach. I'm a bit of both here. I press gently with the glutes down and I lift gently with my waistline up. Because this is the thing with side lying, you're working the sort of side muscles. So you're not working front to back, you're working sort of top to bottom. So these waistline muscles are going to kind of give you stability. So there's a little bit of lift. Look at the difference between me sinking down and with me pressing down with the glutes and a little bit up with my waistline there. So there's me fired up in my trunk and ready to go. So here come the exercises. The first thing I want to mention almost isn't an exercise at all, it's the breathing. Any new position that you're in your workout, take a moment to simply breathe. And in side lying it's great because there's an asymmetry of the position of the lungs and also the position of the diaphragm, the main muscle of breathing. So just lie there, take a moment and have 2 or 3 soft, gentle, deep breaths. And then on with the more formal exercises. The first thing, and I covered this in detail in my previous YouTube clip, it's to stretch and open the front of the thighs. So I'm just going to show you just really briefly. Grab the lower leg or your trousers or your socks and pull back. You've got a round the knee stretch, and if you open here, you're getting the top of that muscle there. Okay, not everyone can manage this as a front of the thigh, a quad stretch. There's alternatives in the previous clip. Okay, so I'm going to move on and talk about leg pendulums. So just earlier I was saying press the underneath buttocks down to fire up the trunk, the core. In pendulums you've got two-way movement. Underneath glutes, buttocks down, and the top one's having a levitation of the leg, and then the bent leg is forward and back. And this is where you're getting right into those buttocks and getting a workout for your bottom, and simultaneously you get openness at the hip. The bottom buttock is pressing down, your trunk is stable, so you've got your trunk stability, you've got your alignment, you've got work in the glutes. It's a lot easier to, doesn't feel like so much work at the front there. Okay, so if you have some tightness at the front or some tightness in the back of your legs, be aware of your range of movement. You want to keep your trunk stable. I generally do this by having a feel. You don't want to feel that your spine is moving or your tailbone is tucking under. For all of these, well, you're not necessarily going to do all of these exercises, but I would go for 10 to 15 reps per side, although I'm only going to show one side today. So that's pendulums. Okay, so there's a classic exercise that does the rounds. Physios often prescribe it for people. It's called the Clam. Now I'm going to give you a modified Clam, and this is why I got my foam roller, because you want to have the legs in the position where they would be in standing, so you've got some space in between the legs. So rather than doing your Clam like this, I'm a big fan of spacing the legs. Now I've got a foam roller because it's just lightweight and easy for me to move around when I'm recording, but pillows and cushions, yoga bricks, just as good. So you've got space in between your legs. You're going to relax the feet, possibly if you've got a foam roller or the cushions, hold, and there's the Clam. Now over the years I've found this it's much easier to get range, to get a sense of what the movement's about. So this muscle here is contracting to turn out externally, rotate the leg. So there's your Clam exercise. Okay, again, with alignment and stability. Don't allow the pelvis to tip back. What's happening there is the back muscles are doing the work of the glutes. So the back, the whole trunk is moving to move the leg. Leave the trunk, press down with the underneath buttocks, and you're just working the top leg. Don't be worried about range necessarily. If you see me there, it's not huge, is it? But that's as much as I've got. So there's the Clam. The next thing is a top leg raise, and you don't need a foam roller for this. Well, I'm going to put it there and I'll need it later. Okay, 2 iterations of this, 1 straight leg, or I'm going to show you an alternative side lying position, 2 straight legs. Again, bottom buttock pressing down, top leg 2-way movement, getting that lift. Now here's the thing, trunk stability, this muscle is doing the work. Look at the difference between that and that. So here again I'm using my back to sort of give me some purchase on that, but we want trunk stability, we want body alignment, this muscle doing the work. Alright, so it is easier if you take your bottom leg and prop it up, and it's harder to do it this way. Okay, right then, if you've got your foam roller or your blocks or your cushions to hand, why not put them in front of you, straighten the bottom leg and put the top leg on top of your foam roller. Okay, so then you get now I know you can't really see my bottom leg, you will in a minute. So the top leg is out of the way and you can do a straight leg raise of the bottom leg. So you're working the inner thigh of the bottom leg rather than the outer glutes of the top leg. So traditionally you sometimes see this done, but this leg kind of gets in the way and everything rotates and just doesn't work as well. It's much better to have space. And you know what, you could even have that leg higher and it allows you to get that lift. Again, keeping your alignment, shoulders stacked, ears, shoulders, ribs, pelvis stacked, up and down with the bottom leg with lovely deep breaths. So the last couple of exercises I'm going to show you a little bit more advanced. So the first one is a modified side kick. I'm just going to take that out of the way there. So you're going to work with straight legs. My foam roller's going to roll. Straight legs. But if you think of me as being, my legs as being in the 6 o'clock position, you're going to bring your legs forward into a 5 o'clock position. Everything else stays the same. 2-way movement of the legs, bottom leg down, top leg levitates. So straight away you've got trunk work, you've got outer glute work, and then you start with forwards and back through the leg. I absolutely love this exercise because there's so much going on. Stability, alignment, front of the thigh, and the whole of the front line is working there, coming back through, and then you've got the whole of the back line, the back of the legs, the buttocks, and the back muscles are all working. And it's just relatively doable. It can be made simpler. The pendulum exercise is in essence a simpler version. And it's one of those ones where you kind of feel that it's working. I love it. Your body is relatively relaxed because you've got the floor to support you, and of course lovely deep breaths, but you knew that really, didn't you? Okay, and last couple of things. So one is the tripod lift. So you bring your legs back into the middle and then separate them. So the top leg goes back and the bottom leg goes forward. So just for reference purposes, this is a modification of an exercise when you're on your elbow, but it does work fully lying. And then you're going to be really careful that you stay stable in your trunk. It's so easy to tip back, particularly if you tighten that hip. If you struggle with this, put a block underneath your back leg, and that position is often easier to achieve than that one. To be honest, I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm just going to press on if I may. So then, with my trunk stability, my legs open, I've got alternate leg lifts. And the challenge is mostly in that underneath leg, inner thighs, getting the top leg up, outer bottom, inner thigh, outer bottom. Again, 10 to 15 reps. And finally, we're going to jettison as blocks, and we're going for a balance. Okay, so you can do your exercises. I still need a pad, don't I?
you can do your exercises with the full straight position, or just use it as a challenge to simply balance. And it's a slightly more open position. It's not necessarily as easy as it looks, and you may find it's different on different sides of the body. So you can think about, again, pressing down through the outer glutes. And if you need a little bit, often just one finger will do the trick, just to give you a bit of stability. So the body's calm and breathing, and you may or may not do exercises from this position. There's some lovely spine articulating exercises that you can do in side lying, but rather than record them here, I'm going to pop a clip onto the end of here if you want some rotation, side bendings and some chest opening exercises. So I think that's probably enough for me for this month, so cheerio.
Hi there. I do hope you found this clip useful. We've got plenty more on the site, and for now I've suggested another one for you to watch. If you want to know more about what we do in Leeds, then do visit the website at pilates-leeds.com, and right now you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we can do this all again next month. Cheerio!